Welcome back, everyone. This is the second video on generative soundscape creation in Max MSP. So this is where we last finished. I had the soundscape with 4 locations and 4 beds associated with crossfaded looping, not yet random. Might think about doing something about that, and some kind of randomized dripping. So I'm going to expand this with a few more things, some visuals and all the rest. So let's hear how this sounds so far. Okay, this is my number 4 street, which is a kind of 2 passing cars, really. Not horribly exciting. Then number 2 is my beach. Push that a bit. This is a buffer which is about 15 seconds long, so I can use more of that. Although I don't hear the repetition really. I would really have to pay good attention to find where it repeats. And then I have a gate sound, that was this, when I enter the forest, which is my location 1. Again, the duration can be more generous here. Let's see, this ambience is about 10 seconds here. Maybe that's a bit dangerous there. Cool, and then number 3 is my market place. Maybe you can push the volume a bit. Give me an impression of it being more busy. This buffer is 15 seconds, so use more of that. Fine. Cool. First of all, let's think about this dripping. I'm a bit worried about how it really works out. What we can do is we can create a kind of a hidden section where things are dripping, and maybe a market is a good place. So what I'll do then is I'll in the inspector of the nodes object, I will add another node. Here's the number of nodes, so we'll have 5, and I will make this node 5. If I can manage that. That was a bad move. Be careful of duplicating it. So with the node 5, I will make it smaller and kind of hidden, maybe here. So if I want the dripping to happen only when I enter node 5, what I need to do is first of all unpack that from the list of node distances. This is where I expect it to be, and then what I need to do is I say if this is larger than 0, if I'm within that circle, I'm gonna have to check whether that value has changed, and then I expect to get decent on-off thing. There it is. I'm inside, I'm outside. Okay, so as you might expect, I can then use that to do my dripping. So in this case, I can already encapsulate this whole lot, and this will be my dripping. And then it's a bit more neat, and I can use that very toggle to turn it on and off. Okay, so that's my dripping, and I can test for that. Probably need to update these values. So there it went on, but it's not happening yet. So this can happen as we reload the buffers. Let's see what's going on. Randomization there, it's fine. Okay, a bit of debugging here. So let's see, is the Metro banging? Metro is banging. What's the Markov chain outputting? Nothing. Yeah, that's the thing from last time. I remember now. Because when I encapsulate it, it reloads the object. It reloads the object when I encapsulate, but it doesn't run the load bang. So it should be fine next time I run the patch. And now, here we are. Okay, so how do we make this into a little game? Well, what I can do is, so this is the gate. I'm going to try to keep this neat as well. So that could, I mean, I might have encapsulated this as well, but let's leave it outside for now. So I want to keep this rather neat, and I sometimes suggest even using send receives to get some sense of neatness, and obviously expanding things like this can help. Gate is fairly straightforward. Okay, so what I was thinking of doing is, if I enter the market number 3, okay, so I do another condition there if it's larger than 0, except that needs to be an object. If it is larger than 0, number 3, and if I need to use the change to stop multiple bangs for each movement inside, so I just need the change of that. I can verify that that works. So when I sorry. By the way, if you're having trouble with this moving stuff about, what you can do is you can disable it in the inspector. So let's just verify that my entering the market is now cool. Here it is. I'm in the market or outside of the market. And then what I can do is I can display a message to the user which says find the dripping tap, something like this. So I believe a comment box can be used for that, and there is another thing which is called a text box somewhere in the interfaces, gain control, not among these. Let's see if we can get it done with the comment box. So typically you can set it to a variable. Okay, so if I say set to a string which is find the dripping. Let's see if that works. There it is. Okay, so the thing here is that I might want to make sure that this happens only when I enter the market. See, because currently if I exit the market, it's a typo there, finds the dripping. Let's say I have a reset message as well. Okay, so if I'm in the market, I exit the market, it also triggers. So instead what I can do is just make sure the 0 to 1 transitions do that. That's a bit more neat. So if I'm outside the market, I get into the market, it tells me find the dripping. And then what I can do is, if someone does find the dripping, I can say something like, bravo, you found it, exclamation. And this I can do when the person has entered number 5. Obviously still it's visible, but we'll deal with the graphics in a bit. So that's bravo, you found it. And then what I can do is I can use the reset message when I exit either the market or exit either the number 5. So let's see how this works. I enter the market, it says find the dripping. I'm roaming around, can't find it. Oops, bravo, I found it. And then when I exit, that's it. Okay. Let's see if that works with the sound as well. Make that a bit louder. And that was it then. Cool, so that's my dripping. Well, the question is whether I want to encapsulate this now. And I'm thinking, well, this has 2, it will have 3 inputs, and it's not horribly congested. I can kind of keep it all fairly compact. So I'm probably going to keep it like that. Okay, and then one thing that I wanted to think about adding was footsteps. So this will be the last kind of advanced thing. So what I would need to do is actually track the mouse information, and from that I would need to extract the speed. Okay, so in some of the previous material I've discussed this. So let's first look at that. Let's first look at what we get from this mouse. So we get a position, which is the first 2 values. Okay, so we will unpack that, unpack the position. And then what we will do is we will resample that. So because it is likely that in order to calculate the velocity, now it's likely that I will have many more samples than movements, because I can leave this bob. So what I'll do then is first do the calculation of the vector from the last position. Let me just think, would that work? And then get the resampling done. Except, let me just think. The case is that obviously, no, I'll have to save the previous position. So I'll have to work with the positions. So in that case, what I first of all need is the difference of the... First of all, I need the resampling. Okay, so I'm gonna store both of these incoming values. This is my position, at least that's what I thought. That's wrong. Let's double check. So okay, the first one is the mouse. So I need the third value. And that will be my XYs. Oops. Okay, this is my XY positions. So first thing I need to do is I need to give it a constant sampling rate. So I will do that with a metronome. Let's go for 50. I will have to run this by default. Okay, let's just initiate that to start with. And then what I will do is bang these messages out. So I expect them to kind of continuously report those messages. Okay. And then what I need to do is I need the difference to the previous value. Okay. So in order to do that, I need a T FB and another memory cell. I think I've explained this in an earlier video. So I first bang the stored value, then I replace the stored value, and this should be my previous value, and then I subtract the previous value from the incoming value. So this is the previous, this is the incoming, and I expect this to give me a kind of a difference. Okay, so when I move, I get that, and if I stop, I keep getting zeros. Okay, and then I will also need the absolute value of that, because I need a speed regardless of the location. Although no, I will do the Pythagoras, so I don't need that. I will do that later. So this then can become my encapsulation, which is the differential. Okay, so I need one for x, one for y. Here they are. Great, and then I need to, because this is xy, right, and I'm interested in the magnitude, so this is what is called the Cartesian to polar conversion, whereby I should be able to get polar coordinates, which is magnitude and angle. So let's try that. So, which is funny because actually if I go this direction, you see I have a kind of a constant angle reported for the directions, and if I go fast I get a higher value, otherwise I get a lower value. And actually this is a bit difficult to trace, so what you can do there is use a multi-slider, and instead of setting it up, I'll just grab a ready-made one from the which one was this? This one from the help file. Okay, so this is my scrolling display. So let's see how these values actually work out. Okay, so they're a bit small. Let's just fix the range here. So the range, let's go up to, I think 0.5 is plenty. Okay, 0.5 isn't plenty. Range, number of sliders, did I mess that up? Let's see what this does. Just test that first. Okay, that totally messed it up. Maybe because it's in integers. Let's see, number of sliders, range, info text, point scroll, here it is, floating point. Okay, so 0 in there, and that looks better. Okay, so let's look at my velocity there. Looks quite good. Okay, so I can still play around with this one a bit. I've shown you how to build your own low-pass filter for control domain, which is great to understand, but actually there is such thing already. So we can use a slide, and I'm not sure what the range is here, but we can try that. So if I move fast, then I stop, kind of have a constant speed. Probably want this to be slightly more sensitive, to be honest, because this would be some kind of speed already. But actually it should be usable. I mean, it's actually really close to 0 whenever I start moving. So the thing to do here will be to convert this to actual speed. Sorry, I don't want to lose the slide. So what I can do now is already encapsulate these things and call this my sorry, I need this to come out of the encapsulation. So these bits will be my speed. Mouse speed. Great. Probably need to restart this metronome. There we go. So that seems to work. And when I stop, it kind of halts as well. Great. So what I will need to do then is convert this to a metronome, which is kind of playing the footsteps. So what I'll do then is I will reuse this dripping, but obviously make sure that I am playing different files. So here I have prepared, I think, foot 1. I just think it's not an MP3. It was an MP3. Great. So I have 4 foot sounds. Oops, that was a mistake, because I need to rename the buffer as well. So this will be F1. And now I've actually replaced the other buffer, so I'm going to have to reload that as well. Foot 2, foot 3, and then F4 is foot 4. Check those. Looking good. Oops. I'll just reload this one to avoid issues later on. So I erase it and undo that. That does the reload. Actually, I should have copied this as well. So this will be my footsteps. Footsteps. And then I have some randomization in there already. I have a Markov which avoids repetition. I can reuse those. But what I definitely need here is another player for the 4th sound file, and obviously I need to play those buffers instead. So that's F1, F2, F3, and F4. I need to account for number 4 coming in as well, which would trigger that sound file. Okay, let's check those. Not this, drips. I kind of hear them, they're a bit soft compared to the rest of stuff. Sounds quite repetitive. I'm not sure if the pitch randomization is it. Oh, it's not working obviously because it's triggered from the randomized metronome rather than manually there. So that looks good. Let's try that. It's a bit loud. So I can put variation to something. So I can see that maybe maybe 200 will be my maximum value. And if I go really slow, maybe 900 or so. So let's do 200 and 900. I'll leave the variation fixed. So first of all, what I can do is I can create a link with a change such that this 0 will actually well, I can do this neatly. Let's do it neatly. Let's do if is it larger than 0. So if my speed is larger than 0, I will make sure I avoid repetitions such that this turns on. And when I stop, now I've stopped, then it should have turned off. This is probably still not an actual 0. Is that the case? Let's see what was going on there. So if you have a debugging thing and you really want to be precise, then printing stuff is probably the best thing. So you see it's still printing zeros because, hello, this is very not very reliable. It still reports larger than 0, so I'll take a really small number there, close to 0. Yeah, and this is now 0. And if I start to walk, that's +1, and then at some point it goes back. Obviously I have to keep it still for a bit to stop walking. Okay, and then I have that, so that will turn it on and off, so I actually stop walking. And then I have to account for the speed. So what is it here? If I'm really fast, maybe it goes up to 0.2. Okay, so what I can do is I can do a little clip between 0 and 0.2, just so I figure out the maximum and the minimum of the range. So I clip that. And then what I've said is that the fastest thing will be 200 and the slowest thing will be 900. So the easy thing to do here is scale. So 0 to 0.2 is the input, and then the output will be for the lowest value 900 and for the highest value 200. Okay, so let's look at that. So if I'm very slow, that's that, and if I speed up, it goes to 200 and then slows down again. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's use this for my minimum time and listen to that. And then I've stopped. So I have a sense of busyness here. How is the rest sounding like? I've stopped again. Okay, so I think it's a worthwhile proof of concept. And then what I can do is I can encapsulate these things all together. Maybe, yeah, probably with the unpack as well, so we have only a single chord outside. I will maybe leave that minimum time there. Maybe this one as well, just for display. Okay, so this becomes my walking. Don't lose the letter P. Walking, and then that controls that bit over there. Try to keep this readable. Okay. Well, that's it as far as the sound is concerned. Okay, my walking is not working, probably because of encapsulation. Restart this. It will run from restart. Okay, that's that then. I'm happy with the sound. Obviously I didn't spend too much time tweaking the bits, but it's more about demonstrating the techniques here. So the last thing I'm going to show you is how to make this look cool. And for that, I'm going to save all the presets, or the preset here. For that, we're going to look at some pictures. So fpic is useful for displaying pictures, and then here what I have is I've prepared a few pictures. Here's my street. And then what I can do is, first of all, a scale to box. Great. And I can embed it in Patcher as well, which is good for reloading it. Please don't crash. Thank you. So that's one of them. And then the other one will be C. Open that. Another one will be please don't crash. Great. Another one will be my market. And actually I'm gonna use more space down here for this. So I have the market, and then I will pick another one, which is my forest. Okay, so what I can do to make this hopefully cool is I can make these, oh, I have two of those. So I can make this translucent, transparent, with the message, which is, I believe, alpha. Here it is. Okay, or you can use this. I actually prefer the old school message, which is alpha and then $1, which will be replaced by the incoming value. So here 0 is totally transparent and 1 isn't. Okay. So what I can do then is I can have each one of these kind of fade in as the sound fades in as well. Okay, so in order to do that, what I will need is these values. So and the good news is that I will be using the presentation mode, so that means that I can make these fit the patch rather than the user interface, which is, by the way, a good thing to kind of keep doing, because you want your patch to be readable for the programmer, whereas the user interface does not need to have those arrangements. Okay, so my first one was forest, so there it goes. So the ranges is 0 to 1, so this should work seamlessly. My second one is the beach, my third one is the market, and my fourth one is the street. So you see that works seamlessly. And then what I can do is put these into presentation mode. I'm doing Command Shift P, or you can find that in the object menu. And then when I enter presentation mode, that's what I'm left with. So in the presentation mode, I'll use a really lush size panel. And then what I will do is, well, first of all, does this still work? It looks good. So what I can do in order to stop mousing around too much, what I can do is I can take the patching rectangles there, and I believe I can actually, oops, force that onto this one. Did that work? No, it didn't. Patching rectangle. Oh, that's a pity, because it seems like it should work. Patching rectangle there. Put in the same values. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong thing to do, because that was the presentation rectangle. So that's the rectangle, and then for this one I can put that in there, and then it's the exact same size. For this one I will do the same. So it's not exactly the same size only, but it's the exact same position as well. this one as well, and then this one as well. Okay, so now what I have is an issue of these things being in front of each other. So what I'll do here is I'll send this one to back, and I still have one of the pictures in the front, so send that to back as well. I still have a picture in front. Let me just undo, keep the position, send to back, and the last one, send this one to back. And now I'm left with the actual nodes object, which means I don't see any of the pictures. So the last thing to do here is to make sure that I make everything transparent here. So opacity goes to 0 for the background. Candy cane 1 goes to 0. Candy cane 2, 0, 3. Transparent 4 is transparent. Sorry, that was 5. Node color, is that the first one then? It is. Okay, so now if everything is right, I'm left with this lovely navigatable thing. I still see the nodes, which is not helpful if I want to make it a game of finding something. So I still have to say that my text color is removed and my node center colored is also transparent. Okay, and now I'm left with this lovely thing. So if I turn it on, stop for a listen. Ah, lovely. Go to the beach, in the city. Here's the market. So the last thing I'm missing is my little instruction, find the dripping. Put that in the presentation mode. And probably make it a bit larger so people can see it. Let's make it 30. It says find the dripping. So I'm here, and then actually I have to, there it is, bravo. Great. Well, that's it. Obviously you can embellish this with other lovely things. So thanks for following it, and I hope you make a lot of exciting soundscapes. Goodbye.